Good morning and Shabbat Shalom, everyone. In this week's Torah portion, the Torah begins by telling us the genealogy, the descendants of the tribes of Israel. The Torah says these are the descendants of the tribe of Reuven, which was the first of the 12 tribes. Then it continues with Shimon, and then it goes to Levi, the third son, and then it stops. And Rashi asks, why only the first 3 sons of Jacob? What about the under 9 tribes of Israel? And Rashi gives 2 answers. The first answer Rashi says is because we want to tell about the tribe of Levi, because the 3 descendants, Moses, Aaron, and his sister Miriam, their sister Miriam, were the ones who were instrumental in taking the Jews out of Egypt. So therefore it begins with Reuven, Shimon, and then Levi, and then it doesn't continue. But the obvious question on that answer is, why bother telling us about the family descendants of Reuven and Shimon? If you want to discuss Moses and Aaron and Miriam and their ancestry, just talk about the 3rd tribe. And here Rashi gives a fascinating answer. Rashi says that if you recall, at the end of Jacob's life, in the book of Genesis, he blessed the 12 tribes of Israel. But when he came to the first 3, he reprimanded them. He said, Reuven, you're unstable like water, you're impetuous. Shimon and Levi, you wiped out the city of Shechem with your anger. He rebuked them. And therefore Rashi says, you may think that the first 3 tribes are less important, less worthy, that they are inferior somehow to the other tribes. And therefore the Torah specifically talks about their family genealogy to stress that they are as important as the other 9 tribes. Despite being rebuked by Jacob, they have not lost any of their importance or stature. And the word Rashi uses is shechashuvim heim. Chashuv means important. And here Rashi is teaching us a fascinating lesson. Sometimes we deem certain people to be important people, chashuv, and other people not so important. And the rabbis are telling us, never think you know who's important and who's not. Despite the fact that Jacob rebuked them, that doesn't mean that they're any less important than the other tribes. As a matter of fact, in Hebrew, the word chashuv, which means important or distinguished, is from the same root of the word which means chashav, which means to think. And what the rabbis are teaching us is that it's all a figment of your imagination who's important and who's not, who's distinguished and who's not. Only God knows who's really distinguished and important. As the famous story in the Talmud of the rabbi who passed away, had a near-death experience, and when he came back to life, his son asked him, what did you see in the next world? And he said, I saw a topsy-turvy world. Those who in this world are above, many of them in the next world are below. And those who in this world are below, they're considered unimportant. In the next world, they are above, they are raised up. So never think you could judge whether someone is an important person. Treat every person with equal importance. There's a story told about in the olden days, there was a famous rabbi, and he would go from town to town and give talks. And every time he arrived with his wagon driver, the whole community would come out and greet him and honor him, bring him into the synagogue, and he would give a big, profound lecture. And everyone would applaud. And one day his wagon driver said, you know, I watch from town to town all the honor you get, all the respect, all the admiration and love. I would love to feel that. He says, by now I've heard your lecture 100 times. I know it word for word by heart from every city. How about you do me a favor? You pretend like you're the wagon driver. I'll dress up like the rabbi. The olden days, there was no photography. People didn't know who he was. They heard he's coming. They will greet me. I'll pretend to be you. I'll get up in the synagogue. I'll give this great lecture, and I'll feel what it's like to be this respected rabbi. The rabbi said, I'll be happy to do that for you. So he dresses up the wagon driver. They get to the next town. Everyone greets the wagon driver who's dressed as the rabbi. They escort him into the synagogue. He gets up and he gives this beautiful lecture, repeating with all the passion, word for word, what he's heard time and again from the rabbi. At the end of the lecture, someone raises their hand and says, Rabbi, may I ask a question? He says, what you said is very interesting, but it contradicts what it says in another passage in the Talmud based on a commentary. And he asked this very deep, profound question on his lecture. And the wagon driver, disguised as the rabbi, looks at the questioner and says, that's such an easy question. Even my wagon driver could answer it. Let us remember to give everyone the proper respect, because you never know who someone really is and the true honor and value and worth and respect that they deserve. Have a wonderful Shabbos.